All right, what is up, my friends? Welcome to my complete set review for Innistrad Crimson Vow Vampires. I'm a vampire. I'm a vampire. That's right, and we're doing every single card, constructed, limited, you name it, we're doing it. Best in show, trap card, sleeper card. It's all gonna be here. It's all gonna be here. You miss white, you miss blue. They're on YouTube. Watching on Twitch, make sure you follow. Watching on YouTube, like, comment, subscribe. Let me know your pick for best in show in the comments below. Don't be shy. Don't be shy. Also, 10 new brews is coming up. Bronson Mythics coming up. All my sponsors down here. Go download untap.gg. Check Coalesce shirts. Go buy my shirt. CoolStuffInc.com. BCW Supplies. You get the idea. All right. Let's go into black. Are you ready? Boom. Headshot. Aim for the head. 3-mana sorcery. Exile a zombie or opponent exiles 2 cards from their hand. So a good mind rot. We had the last set had the Mind Rot in it. Discard 2 cards. But it was pretty bad because there were so many disturb cards in a set, right? So this one solves that problem, making them exile. Also can kill a zombie. This is a pretty solid draft card, honestly. Because it can be our removal spell, maybe like 40% of the time-ish, which is pretty good. And then when it's not, it's just a pretty good Mind Rot, which is also fine. So we'll see limited-wise how important a Mind Rot will be, but this is a reasonable limited card for sure. Obviously a great sideboard card. Constructed, play go blank, but in limited, very reasonable card. Up next is Archghoul of Thraben. 3 mana for a 3/2. Whenever it or another zombie you control dies, look at the top card of your library. If it's a zombie, put it in your hand. If you don't, put it in your grave. You may put it in your graveyard. So potentially draw, also possibly scry. Zombie itself, not exactly Midnight Reaper, but it is a reasonable card to play in your zombie deck. Obviously, similar to Goblin Leader, you're gonna have a pretty high density of zombies in your deck to make this card good. If you're playing at least 30 zombies and you're gonna flip every time, it's still not great. It's still not like great because they can just kill it, you can just miss. But it's probably not good enough for constructed. Honestly, it's probably just not good enough. I honestly play Morbid Opportunities before I play this in constructed, but in limited, reasonable card, very very solid card. Even by itself, it might draw a card. A little scry is good in limited. Playing a lot of zombies, this card's going to be awesome and limited. First pickable for sure. So, very solid limited card. Fringe constructed playability. But probably not. Probably not. Up next is Bleed Dry. Black 2 instant. Target gets 13/13. -13. So, end of turn. If it would die, exile it. This is just your black common removal spell. Pretty good one, honestly. It's an instant and it exiles, which is pretty great. It can also kill indestructible creatures too, which is kind of nice. Plays around that white trick. Just a good limited rule spell. First pick or removal spell. And limited, nothing really to talk about here. Up next is Blood Fountain. Whenever you see a card like this, a common, it's never good. Just, like tricks of the trade. 1 black artifact. Comes into play, make a blood token. We already discussed that. I guess we'll look at the blood token one more time if you want. If you want to see the blood token. This is a blood token right here. Blood token is a artifact. Pay 1 to rummage. There are also cards that have effects with the blood token as well. But that's a blood token. So it comes out, make a blood token. Pay 4, sacrifice Blood Fountain, return up 2 creature cards from your graveyard to your hand. So just a very, very mopey, raise dead effect here. There are things that care about blood tokens, but probably not as much as that you'd want. This card is just bad. Just bad on all fronts. If you're playing as a very grindy deck, we want to double raise dead, sure, but it's pretty bad. Pretty bad. Blood Crazed Socialite. 4 mana for a 3/3 menace. Pretty reasonable. Comes into play, makes a blood token. Whenever it attacks, you may sacrifice a blood token. If you do, it gets +2/+2 on the turn. It's fine card. It's fine. Just a limited filler. Reasonable 4-drop. Nothing crazy. It's fine. It's a fine draft card. You can play it, you can not play it. Just middling. Bloodsworn Squire. 4 mana for a 3/3. Again. 2 mana, discard a card. Bloodsworn Squire gets indestructible until the end of turn. Then tap it. Then if there are 4 or more creature cards in your graveyard, transform it. So, not exactly a Seasoned Hollowblade, but reasonable for a limited card for sure. And we discard some creatures. And what do we get? Flip it into Bloodsworn Knight. Power and toughness equal to the number of creature cards in your graveyard. Pretty cool. 2 mana, discard a card, and gets indestructible and tap it. So, pretty solid draft card here, honestly. Obviously, will play well with self-mill stuff, because you want to A, flip it, and B, make it big, which is kind of cool. But all in all, reasonable limited card for sure. Indestructible. Eventually will turn into a big threat. Nothing incredible. Nothing out of the, it seems like it's like, just a reasonable limited card for sure. In standard, absolutely not. Absolutely not. It's a hill giant. It's a hill giant. But limited, solid card. Blood Vial Purveyor. I didn't know this card existed. And I watched Versus Live for a little bit yesterday. And I saw Corey cast this card. And I was like, what the hell is this? Black 2 for a vampire. A 5/6 flying trample for 4. It's pretty good. Whenever an opponent casts a spell, that player creates a blood token. So now you're giving your opponent blood tokens. Whenever it attacks, it gets +1/+0 for each blood token a defending player controls. So this card is freaking huge. Oh yeah, and it's until end of turn. It's a typo. So whenever it attacks, it gets +1/+1 to end of turn for each blood token defending player controls. So, this card is big. All right, it's definitely big. The issue is it's only big. So if your opponent can kill this, it's just a big dumb idiot. You give your opponent blood tokens, which is not good. It's not as bad as giving an include token, but still not great. It's big. This is just sort of like your typical big dumb idiot card. Where if your opponent can kill it, it sucks. If your opponent can't kill it, it's still pretty good, but you can just get around it, So I think this card is okay. I think this card is mostly just like a format or matchup specific card that you constructed, where against mono white it's pretty good, against mono green it's pretty good, but it's terrible against Fading Hope. It's terrible against power word kill. It can block Goldspan Dragon, but I'm sure they can just kill it, divide by 0, whatever, So, pretty polarizing card. When it's good, it's going to be really good. When it's bad, it's going to be really bad. It's simple as that. Obviously, absolutely busted and limited for sure. But for constructed, I'm pretty middle of the road. Yeah, I'm not sure. It's a weird one. Is it more Desecration Demon or more Doom Whisperer? Not really sure. Flample. Moving on. Catapult Fodder. 3 mana for a 1/5. Beginning combat your turn, if you control 3 more creatures that have toughness greater than their power, transform. Okay. Turns into Catapult Captain. It's a zombie. Pay 3, sack creature. Target opponent loses life equal to the sacrifice creature's toughness. And it's another creature. Can't sacrifice itself. So there's this weird, large toughness theme in black for some reason.
Oh my god, Becky.
Not really sure why, but there is. And this card plays into that, obviously. As a 1/5 for 3, it's reasonable and limited, and then it's obviously a reasonable game ender. This is a pretty reasonable limited card for sure. A card that blocks well and then wins the game late is certainly reasonable. Solid limited card. Solid limited card for sure. No constructed, but solid limited card. Cemetery Desecrator. Ooh, we got a sleeper here. A lot of people are talking trash about Cemetery Desecrator. It's by far the most expensive of a cycle. And it is a 4/4 for 6 on face, right? So people are kind of seeing this card, discounting it. It's not Grave Titan. It's not whatever. However, this card's a lot of freaking value. Let's say 6 mana 4/4. When it comes into play, you can kill Planeswalker or creature. Then when it dies, you also can kill a Planeswalker or a creature while also graveyard hating too. Which is solid. I don't think it's the kind of card that's going to see a lot of play, nor is it going to see it's not it's not a card that blows you away. But I think people are completely discounting this card, completely. This card is just a stupid limited card, whatever. The worst cemetery, whatever, so on and so forth. And this really is a reasonable card. Would you rather cast this or Blood in the Snow? Honestly, it depends. So is it an insane card? No. Is it a playable card? Yeah, I think so. If you're playing against a creature deck, this is a pretty awesome card. And also to exile graveyard stuff too. Is it the best card in the set? No, absolutely not. Is it being underrated? Yes, I think so. I think it's a solid card. Not amazing, not crazy, but I think given the current naysayer on this card, it definitely could see some play. In limited, unbelievable bomb, not even close. Like unbelievable bomb. Unbelievable bomb. So cool card. Cool card. The Cemetery Desecrator. Moving on to Concealing Curtains. 1 mana for an 0/4 defender. Pay 3 and transform at sorcery speed. Transform it into a 3/4 menace and you get to Vendilion click your opponent. So look at their hand, choose a non-land card, they put it in the bottom. Or, I'm sorry, discard the card and then draw a card. Kind of a cool card. Really, really weird card. It's pretty sweet. Like it's a Vendilion click, for 3 mana effectively on turn 3. That's a 3/4, which is pretty good. It has menace. Super solid card for sure. But it's also just kind of weird. You play it early, you can kill it before you can flip it. If they kill it in response to activating it, it's devastating. Even an unsummon in response to the activation is pretty devastating. It's a huge tempo loss. So it's face up. Your opponent gets to see it and play around it. But it is a pretty good rate. These cards are going to see some play for sure. So yeah, I don't know why the Vendilion click effect is black. Usually it's a blue effect or whatever, but sure. But yeah, definitely a cool card. Definitely some cool art, cool flavor. Not super high on it, but I think it is pretty good. It is pretty good. Limited is great, obviously. It's a super, super solid card. Super good on rate and limited. Courier Bat, the mana for a 2/2 flyer. Reasonable. Comes into play if you gain life this turn. Return up 1 creature card from your graveyard to your hand. That's a great limited common. Oh, wow. That's a great limited common. 2/2 flyer for 3 is already passable. And if you're playing the life gain deck, you find some life. If this thing is a 2/2 flying Gravedigger for 3, that is unbelievable. So, obviously a synergy card. Not every deck wants it, but you got a few ways to gain life here. This one looks really, really nice. Look really, really nice. Super solid card. Super, super solid draft card. Demonic Bargain. The mana for a sorcery. Exile top 13 cards of your library, then Demonic Tutor. Obviously, possibly playable in older formats. Y'all realize that Grim Tutor was legal and standard for like 2 years, right? Anyone? Legal and standard. It's legal and historic right now. It was in like M20 or M19, and nobody played it. Why didn't they play it? Because 3 mana for a Demonic Tutor, honestly, isn't that good. What deck wants this, And then obviously the clause here is top 13 cards. Most combo decks often have like 1 or 2 win conditions, so you might exile it by accident. Just a weird card. I doubt I'll see any play at all. In anything. Don't play it in limited. You'll mill your rare. Whatever. Sucks. Desperate Farmer. 2/2 lifelink for 3, which is not great, but reasonable. Obviously good for life gain, stuff like that. And whenever a creature you control dies, you transform Desperate Farmer into Depraved Harvester. 4/3 lifelink. That's a solid one. Dude's trying to farm a horse. You can't farm a horse, stupid. Horses don't grow in a field. But yeah, this is kind of similar to the uncommon in white in the last set, where it's a small body. If something else dies, it becomes really, really good. A 4/3 lifelinker is a house, an absolute house. It only counts creatures you control, though, so you can't kill their stuff. But it's an okay limited card. And then once again, of course, very good with exploit. So if you can exploit your stuff, sacrifice the thing you control, flip it immediately, attack 4 lifelink, pretty solid. So synergy-based limited card could be really good, is what it is. Digraph Scavenger, 4 mana for a 2/3 Death Touch. Enters the battlefield, exile up to 1 target card from a graveyard. If a creature card was exiled this way, each opponent loses 2 and you gain 2. Solid card. Solid defensive card, too. Just like good blocker, gain some life, buy some time. It's a bear with a freaking sword through its head, which is kind of awesome. It's a solid draft card. Doom Dissenter. 2 mana for a 1/1. Sacrifice to get a 2/2. Hey, look, exploit. Get it? There's your fodder. There it is. Good in your exploit decks. Next card. Dread Fugue, 1 black, sorcery. Inquisition of Kozilek, 4 mana value, 2 or less. Not 3 or less. Big difference. Big difference. Still reasonable. Then you can cleave it for 3 and you just coercion them instead. Is that good enough? I kind of don't think so. Duress is already kind of playable in the format anyway. And if you were to board this in against like White Weenie, you'd rather just board in like a removal spell. So I think this card's pretty mopey. For older formats, it's kind of cool, but Inquisition exists. So with Inquisition already existing, I just don't see a home for this card basically anywhere, despite being somewhat reasonable. You know, better main deck than Duress? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Duress hits Seeker's Chariot, Ren and 7, Alrund's Epiphany, Sweepers, everything else. So, yeah, just like a kind of weird one that just like outclassed by other things. In limited, you probably don't want to play this card. Dreadfeast Demon, 7 mana, for a 6/6 flyer. Beginning of your end step, sacrifice a non-demon creature. If you do, create a token that's a copy of Dreadfeast Demon. Kind of a cool card. Obviously a limited bomb. Not hard to make 2 6/6s in one turn. Very expensive though. 7 mana is a bajillion for constructed. And if you're playing like Reanimator or something like that, you're just not going to have a non-demon in play. So not very good there either. So just kind of like a limited bomb for the most part. You're playing sealed deck, you play this thing. End up copying it yourself, you get a sack your whole board. It's sacked non-demon. Sacked non-demon. So can't sacrifice itself. So just a limited bomb. Kind of honestly reminds me of like some old school Magic cards back in the day. So Dying to Serve. 3 mana for a enchantment. If you discard one or more cards, make a tapped 2/2 zombie. Only once turn. Not quite zombie infestation, you know. The problem with this card is that what are you discarding? And then how are you getting a value off of it? We got to discard at least 2 cards to this to make it reasonable, like 3 mana for 2 tokens. And then, I guess, oh, you're right. Blood tokens, duh. Yeah. All right, chat's right. I'm wrong. Sure. Works all blood tokens. Got it. But regardless, is the juice worth the squeeze? That's the question. Does seem good if you're playing on blood tokens, sure. But yeah, card seems a little mopey otherwise. Just takes a while to get like value off of it. Yeah, not about it. Edgar's Awakening, 5 mana, sorcery. Zombify. When you discard this card, you may pay 1 to raise dead. Kind of a cool card. Obviously plays out blood tokens. It's like pseudo madness. Or you can just cast it as a full reanimation spell. It's fine. Not big on reanimation spells. The coolest thing here is honestly just to like discard it to a blood token, madness or raise dead, and get some card advantage, which is kind of cool. That's probably the most common use for this card in limited. Which is reasonable, for sure. Definitely reasonable, but not like overly enthralling or anything like that. Falcon Wrath Forebearer. The mana for a 3/1 flyer. Can't block. Sure. It does combat damage to a player. Make a blood token. Sacrifice 2 blood tokens. Pay a black. Return it from the graveyard to the battlefield. Sort of like your Bloodghast-esque kind of card. Again, I feel like this has been a theme in this set review so far, but think about the turn you cast this card. You cast it and you say go. You can't block or affect the board in any way until you attack the next turn. That's a pretty big downside, you know. And then, you know, unlike, you know, this is the kind of card where you don't really want to cast it. You want to put it in the bin and get it back. And obviously blood tokens can do that. So if you have some way to keep making blood tokens, you can just not cast this and just try and discard it and get it back. That's not an easy thing to do, though. There aren't like a ton of ways to do that in limited. So it's a cool Skyclave Shade-esque card. Skyclave Shade's probably better, but if it's something like cool way to make blood tokens consistently, could be kind of a cool card. More for against control decks. Big problem here is Spikefield Hazard. Bang. Exiled. Gone. Spikefield Hazard is a huge mark against this and the other kind of black cards like it. So great limited card. Obviously super awesome in your blood deck. But yeah, that's it. Skyclave Apparition. That's fun. Why does Spikefield exile? It's a good card. Up next is Fellstinger. Very close to best in show for me. If you watch my stream a lot, I played that mono black deck in standard a ton. And, Village Rites, Eye Twitch, Shambling Guest, Skyclave Shade, etc., etc. And this is a much better Village Rites because Village Rites is cool and all, it doesn't really affect the board. This card comes in, affects the board greatly, and draws cards, which is super awesome. So you can exploit, sack creature, draw 2. You do lose 2, which stinks a little bit, but there are a ton of awesome sacrificey cards in standard. Again, Eye Twitch, like I said, Lawlith the Planeswalker, that all want to do stuff like this. And this card plays very well with that. It draws cards. It can target them for the last 2 points of damage, which is kind of cool. This is just a rock solid card. We'll definitely see play constructed for sure. And then in limited, also phenomenal card. This card's sweet. This card's super sweet. I know Village Rise is an instant, but sometimes you just want to draw cards. You don't want to wait for your opponent to try and kill your creature, So rock solid card, limited constructed, like it a lot. One of the best black cards of a set, honestly. This card's really, really good. You're gonna see a lot of play. Gift of Fangs, 1 black aura. Chain creature gets +2/+2 if it's a vampire. Oh, it's -2/-2. So a little dead weight action. And it's funny because you actually can't kill your opponent's vampires with it, which is an amusing downside. It looks like a strictly better dead weight, but it's actually not because you want to kill vampires sometimes. But kind of a cool card. Obviously, unlimited, you can pump your vampire up and attack. You can kill stuff. Super solid limited card for sure. Constructed, probably not, but kind of a cute card. Gluttonous Guest. The mana for a 1/4 comes into play, make a blood token. If you sack a blood token, you can gain a life. It's a limited filler. Not a very good card. Graph Reaver.
It's a trap.
Folks, you too. Folks everywhere. It is not the year 2003. Carnophage is not a good Magic card. All right? 2 mana for a 3/3. Beginning of your upkeep, take 1. It can exploit to kill a Planeswalker. There aren't that many Planeswalkers floating around, all right? Let's just be real here. And that being the case, unless we're killing Planeswalkers consistently, sure, go nuts. If that's the case, then yes, this card is good. If we're skipping the exploit part, we're skipping the exploit Planeswalker part. This is a bad Watchwolf. Do you realize what year it is? It is 2021, where our cards have all upside all the time. All right? That's not good enough. Werewolf Pack Leader's legal, folks. That's a 3/3 with all upside. Okay? This card is not good. We'll see some play. It might see a little play. If the zombie deck is looking for a 2-drop, sure, you can do this. But you ever ding yourself for 1 over and over again? Come on now. Imagine drawing 2 of these. You imagine having 2 of these in play, having a Sulfuric Vortex in play? Yeah. This is not a particularly great card. It just remove the exploit text, and think about Carnophage. All right? Think about Carnophage. That's all I got to say. Will it see some play? It might see a little play. And if Planeswalkers are rampant, sure. But this card is not. Okay, Boomer. This is the Zoomer in me. All right? Boomer mentality would be like, oh my God, it's a better Carnophage. This is like Watchwolf, but, wow, this is great. But yeah, this card is not good. It does look like Admiral Akbar. You're right. Admiral Akbar is literally in the art. For limited, this card's okay. It's fine. It's well sized, whatever. But yeah, folks, it's not good. It's not a good card. Am I happy that Wizards is adding direct Planeswalker interaction? Yeah, there's been tons of that. Every card now says creature or Planeswalker for sure. So, Grizzly Ritual. What in the world is that art? What in God's name am I looking at? 6 mana for a sorcery. Kill a creature or Planeswalker. Make 2 blood tokens. This is your overly expensive limited card. Where it's a limited removal spell. You're not going to first pick all the time. It's certainly playable if you need to kill things, but that's a lot of mana. 6 is a lot. And you have these blood tokens. You probably play all your lands though. So, yeah, definitely. It's playable and limited. It's playable, but it's not particularly exciting. I would not first pick this card. I could definitely see not playing this card. But if you really, really need to kill something, sure. It's fine. It's fine. Groom's Finery. All right, we saw the bride's dress. Now we see Groom's Finery here. 2 mana for an equipment. Creature gets +2/+0. It gets additional +0/+2 and has Death Touch as long as the equipment. Bride's Gown is attached to a creature you control, and this is attached also. Again, this is just an Xbox achievement if you can get the Groom's Finery and the Bride's Dress equipped at the same time in a game of Limited. Otherwise, it's the Bad Bone Splitter in Limited. Maybe your deck wants that. It probably doesn't. Headless Rider. I see a lot of heads, actually. 3 mana for a 3/1. Whenever it or another non-token zombie dies, make it 2/2 zombie token. Solid card, honestly. Very, very solid card. Just by itself, it's a 3/1. It trades, make it 2/2. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. And then obviously when you go on from that, other zombies dies. This card's really good. Really, really good. Very good with exploit. Obviously, it's a little zombie-centric. But in Limited, this card's good enough by itself. Barring having no zombies at all. And the more you have, the better it gets. So, very good card. Possible, constructed, playable. But yeah, solid card. Solid card. Henrika Domnathi. That is some name. Black, 3. Legend. 1/3 flyer. Beginning combat your turn, choose one that hasn't been chosen. Always a good line of text. Each player sacks a creature. Draw a card and lose one. Or transform. Okay. Transforms into Henrika Infernal Seer. Flying, Death Touch, Lifelink 3/4. Black, 1. Each creature you control with Flying, Death Touch, or Lifelink is +1/+1 on the turn. So, this card's okay. So obviously this card is effectively a 4 mana 3/4 flyer with Lifelink. Because you can just transform it immediately. Play it, go to combat, transform, yada, yada, yada. If you do that, you're not really getting your full value, though. Yeah, right? We have Ranko at home.
Somebody's playing a prank on me.
That's just a bad Nighthawk. But if you get to utilize sacrifice ability or even the draw card, play it, draw card, next turn, flip it. That's pretty good, too. This card is a great Limited card, obviously. Tons of options, and a 3/4 flyer for force are great in Limited. No questions there. Bomb in Limited. For Constructed, just a bad Rankle. Just like pretty bad. Doesn't have the rate as far as attacking. Doesn't have the consistency. It can do some cool stuff, but on and all, just not a great card. Doesn't take their transform. You can transform right away. You choose one that hasn't been chosen. You choose transform. Boom, it's transformed. The thing is that, like, what you're flipping into is, like, just only okay. Just only okay. So, it's fine. It's fine. Nothing super exciting. Moving on. Hero's Downfall. Welcome back. Hero's Downfall.
Make a little noise here, huh?
Come on, I can't hear
Downshifted from rare to uncommon. And realistically, this is not the Hero's Downfall from 6 years ago. All right, that was like a format staple. This card's going to be okay. Just okay. This is mostly murder. Because there aren't that many playable Planeswalkers. Last time Hero's Downfall was legal, there was Elspeth Sun's Champion, Domri Raid, Xenaghost. There were a lot of real balmy Planeswalkers that needed to be killed. Now there aren't really. There just aren't that many. So this is mostly murder, and murder is mildly playable. So will it see play? Yeah, you'll see some play. Not a ton, but you'll see a little bit of play, but not too much. This is a fringe card. Just a fringe card. It's fine. You'll see some play, but it's not what you remembered. All right, Boomers, it's not what you remember. I'm sorry. Limited is obviously first pick. It's murder, but moving on. Innocent Traveler. She looks real innocent. Black 2 for a 1/3. Then your upkeep. Any opponent may sacrifice a creature. If no one does, transform. Transforms into a Malicious Invader. 3/3 flyer for, or 3/3 flyer. +1/+0 as long as an opponent controls a human. So, obviously great Limited card. It's pretty easily just like a 4 mana 3/3 flyer, which is great. And your opponent's probably not sacking stuff. Often going to be a 5/3. Just super solid Limited card. Just good Limited uncommon. Nothing really crazy here. Mind Leech Ghoul. 2 mana for a 2/2. Exploit. Whenever you exploit the exile card from their hand. It's fine. Obviously, trading a card on board for a card in their hand is not ideal, but it's just a bear. Just a reasonable limited card. Parasitic Grass, 2 mana for an instant. 3 damage, target human, you gain 3 life. Or you can cleave it and pay black, black 1 to deal damage to anything. This is a reasonable sideboard card. What was it called? What was it called? Essence something? Drain? Essence Drain? No. Essence Extraction? I don't know. Whatever. It was just this card. Was a reasonable sideboard card. There was a mono red deck in that format. There isn't one in this format, but reasonably playable. Obviously, if you're killing a human, it's pretty good rate. It's just a little
Oh, it's Lightning Helix! Oh my god!
little action against humans, and then otherwise it's passive. It's passable. Just an okay card, sideboard card constructed maybe. Probably not too much play, but could see play. Limited's obviously great. Just a good card, limited. But Path of Peril, black 1. This is our cleave, enemy colored cleave cost. Black 1, destroy all creatures mana value 2 or less. Cleave for 6, destroy all creatures. Obviously, we have Blood in the Snow in this format. 6 mana for a Wrath. It's not particularly great. Path of Peril, 2 kills all small creatures is pretty good. A lot of important 3s in this format, though. A lot of important 3s. Don't think this card's great. Just an okay sideboard card. Nothing super exciting. Calling Ritual is a much better card, that's for sure. And, it's alright. Just a very middling card. Constructed, I mean, limited, sure, it's great. It's a Wrath, it's some other value, but, Kills Thalia. It's good against mono white, but, they just have a lot of 3-drops also. They just have, Redain and Spellbinder and whatever, so, it's fine. Persistent Specimen. 1 black, 1/1. 3 mana to go from the graveyard to the battlefield. So this is the 1 mana version of Reassembling Skeleton. I like it. Good limited card. Honestly, a great limited card. This is insane fodder for Exploit. Just Exploit over and over and over again. Super awesome limited card. Constructed, too expensive, but super awesome limited card. Like it a lot. Point Discussion. 3 mana for a sorcery. Draw 2, lose 2, make a blood token. I never liked Sign of Blood Unlimited. Never liked it. The turn you cast, it's just dreadful, and you're losing life. Just a horrible, horrible tempo card. Obviously, if you're playing a super slow deck, sure, but I don't like Sign of Blood effects at all in Unlimited. Not a fan. Ragger Recluse, 2 mana for a 2/1. Beginning of your end step, you discard a card this turn. Transform. Odious Witch, over attacks, they lose 1, you gain 1. So, pretty solid 2-drop here. Obviously, you can just blood token to flip this thing immediately, which is great. 2/1 for 2 is obviously passable, and then flipping it to a 3/3 that it drains life is pretty awesome, actually. So, solid card here. Obviously, value will scale with the number of blood tokens you have, but solid 2-drop. Restless Bloodseeker, 2 mana for a 1/3. Then if your end step, you gain life this turn, create a blood token. It's pretty good. Sacrifice 2 blood tokens, transform only as a sorcery. It turns into Blood-Soaked Reveler. Then your end step, if you gain life, make a blood token. 5 mana, drain 2. This is a fine limited card. Obviously, the rate's fine, so 1/3 for 2. It's pretty cheap. And more of a life gain card if you're playing black-white, for sure. But once you get there, it's pretty good. And then it's just a good menacing for kind of just closing the game out, which is fine. Body's reasonable. It's a reasonable card. Rot-Tide Gargantua. 5 mana for a 5/4. Exploit. If you exploit a creature, each opponent sacks a creature. This card's pretty good. Honestly. Obviously, assuming we have good exploit fodder, a 5/4 that makes them sack creatures, pretty solid. Pretty solid draft card. Again, synergy based. You don't want to sack your 3/3 and make them sack a creature. But if you're sacrificing that skeleton or some random token, pretty cool card. Skulking Killer. 4 mana 4/2. Comes into play. If your opponent controls, he's -2. If that opponent controls no other creatures. So if they have only one creature in play, you can give it -2/-2. Seems like a pretty sketchy situation. Not a board state that'll happen very often in Limited. This is going to be a 4/2 a lot of the time. I can see boarding it against creature light decks, but this card's just bad. Yeah, this card's just bad. Sorin the Mirthless. It's Planeswalker time, folks. And we got our best in show. Sorin's pretty nice. 4 mana Planeswalker. Starts at 4 loyalty. +1 to Dark Confidant, the top card of your library. However, you can choose to not reveal it and take the damage and just leave it on top of your deck. So if you are in low life total, it's not like you can't plus this thing. You can still use it to kind of keep the card on top, draw lands for free. This card's sweet. I like this card a lot. Plus ability is good. Minus ability, make a Vampire Nighthawk. If it actually had Death Touch, we'd be off the map. It doesn't, unfortunately, but still a very good blocker. Still a very good blocker and a good threat. Life gain to get your Bob going too. This card is super sweet. The ultimate steal 13, gain 13. 13 is probably not going to happen that often, but I really like. It's both card draw and threats. 4-mana walker. It's a very solid card. Nothing crazy here. Just a solid card. Just a solid card, and playable in mid-range decks. Playable as a top end in an aggro deck. As far as control decks, probably not. But there's a lot of like grindy black decks in standard right now, and it fits right into most decks, I think. I think this card's great. It's not a 4 of. You know, it's like a 2 of, maybe a 3 of. You know, it supplements Lolith pretty well. Just a good solid grindy card. Good solid grindy card. Like it a lot. Like it a lot. Card's great. Limited. Absolutely broken and limited, as most Planeswalkers are. Solid. Card's great. Card's great. Toxrill the Corrosive. 7-mana slug horror token. Slug. I'm just reading the card. 7-mana slug. Beginning of each end step, put a slime counter on each creature you don't control. Creatures you don't control get -1/-1 for each slime counter on them. Whenever a creature you don't control with a slime counter on it dies, make a 1/1 black slug token. Pay a Dimir and a sack a slug and draw a card. This is like a commander card through and through, right? Like, no one's playing this card in any reasonable format. But at a commander table, you better bring a lot of slime counters with you, right? But yeah, commander card through and through. Super limited bomb. Like, super limited bomb if you can cast it. But yeah, kind of a fun commander card. Good limited card. Will not see playing constructed. But it is a slug. It is a slug. That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. It's a slug.
Waka waka.
Undead Butler. 2 mana for a 1/2. Comes into play mill 3. When it dies, raise dead. Kind of a cool card. If you're playing like a great graveyard synergy-based deck, it's a good enabler in limited. Constructed, it's not quite such a supplier, but not really good enough. But yeah, limited. If your graveyard is good. If your graveyard is good, good exploit fodder also. Good exploit fodder also. Undying Malice, 1 black instant. Don't turn whenever creature gains, never dies. Come back and put a counter. This card is already like a card, right? This card before. It's Undying. This card is called Undying. Whatever. Yeah, Grief Ephemerate. Go get him. But yeah, just a middling trick. Nothing super exciting. Kind of cute with exploit, but Undying Evil. Yeah, what's the difference in this card and Undying Evil? I don't know. Whatever. Who cares? You know what this card does. Finicky limited trick. Whatever. Unhallowed Phalanx.
Oh my god, Becky.
Look at that toughness. The 1/13. The 5-mana 1/13. That's so broken. It has to come into play tapped. Holy God, does this card suck. Unless you are sacrificing it for some sort of insane value, like, you know, you get whatever for the toughness number. This card's terrible. A 5-drop that can only block, that can't even block the first turn you cast it. Yeah, this card's terrible. Unless you're doing something real good with a large toughness number, whatever that may be, this card is god-awful. Please don't put this card in your deck. All right? Please don't put this card in your deck. Vampire's Kiss. 2 mana for a sorcery. Target player loses 2 life. You gain 2 life. Make 2 blood tokens. Wow. So the question of, is a blood token worth a card is answered here. I would say that deal 2, gain 2 is worth about a half to a third of a card. So if a blood token's worth a third of a card, this card's also kind of reasonable. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how good blood tokens are. I never had one to play before. But this card could be fine, honestly. If you're playing like a heavy, there are cards that care about like blood tokens for like sacrificing and effects and stuff like that. In red as well. Could be a card. In limited. Could be a card. Valdarin Bloodcaster. 2 mana for a 2/1 flyer. No drawbacks. Just pretty good. Whenever it or another creature, or whenever it or another non-token creature you control dies, make a blood. Whenever you create a blood token, if you have 5 or more blood tokens, transform. What do you get? Bloodbat Summoner. 3/3 flyer. Beginning combat your turn, up to 1 target blood token you control. Becomes a 2/2 black bat creature with flying and haste. Addition to its other types. Pretty good card, honestly. Pretty good card. Obviously, great limited card. Just like a million words on a 2-drop is obviously a good place to be. Pretty hard to make 5 blood tokens. Pretty hard to make 5 blood tokens. And if you do flip this thing over, it is very, very good. Not quite whatever that card was called in original Innistrad. 3/3 flyer for 4, tap, make vampires, whatever. Not quite that card. But it's good. Yeah, and the blood becomes a bat permanently, which is pretty good. So it basically makes 2/2 flyers as well. For 2 mana, this is quite a deal. Constructed, probably not. Busted limited card, maybe constructed, honestly. The rate's there. It's a thing. It's a thing. Wedding Security, 5 mana for a 4/4. Whenever it attacks, sacrifice a blood token. If you do, put a counter on it and draw a card. Phenomenal limited card. This thing beats. All right. 5 mana 4/4 is reasonable. All right. But if you get to draw 1 card off this, we have a 5 mana 5/5 that drew a card, and that's like, we can do more than that. This card is awesome. Phenomenal limited card. Not a constructed card. If it was on Enter the Battlefield too, it's still not a constructed card, but insane limited card. That's it. That's the end of the line, folks. That's it for black. Security is closing the door. Closing time. You don't gotta go home, but you go watch the red video next. YouTube folks, love you. Like, comment, subscribe. That was black. Let me know your comments on what you think the best show is, so on and so forth. Am I right? Am I wrong? You can tell me in the comments and tell me how stupid I am, because I know you love doing that. Bye, YouTube. Reddit's next.